G'day, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the shed, and welcome back bloody lockdown. So in Victoria, we're in lockdown 6. It's been dragging on for over a year now, but for all those that are in their cars, gives you an excuse to get back out in the shed. So this episode, I'm going to focus on repairing and fixing that door with the bushes, and also just keep going on the actual main shell, refining it, sanding it, getting some powder levels, you know the drill. So let's get into it. As I mentioned last episode, I ordered the pin and bushing kit for the WB H series, door hinge repair kit for FE, HR, LHUC front, FE, EK rear. So same supplier for that Holden was using throughout their manufacturing process. So you can see this brass bushing is a lot heftier than the current plastic one that you'll find it's on those hinges. I had a look and it was plastic. So it's going to tighten that door up without a doubt. And I guess if you're doing restos all the time, this would be a standard thing that you'd replace in order to do that. Not knowing that, I found out the hard way. So yeah, I'll just fit it and see how we go. I am concerned, and someone mentioned they are very, very tight to clamp in. So I'm not too sure how I'm going to do that. Yeah, so the high fill, I've been getting some really good feedback from a few guys. Mark Stone's one of them. You've always given me some fantastic feedback, Mark, so I appreciate it. Anthony's another guy. I think Greg's another guy. So yeah, these guys are seasoned pros at doing body work, it seems, and giving me some really good tips on the processes I'm doing wrong and need to tighten up in order to get a really, really nice finish. Yeah, so as I mentioned, there was a couple of little low sections that I could see the body filler hadn't been leveled correctly, and that was because I wasn't using, leveling powder or brushing on some guide coat powder to really try and see the areas that you can't see with your naked eye. So that's fine. I've got some powder now, and I'm going to go over that again. Now I need to just sand those areas back and then reapply some primer. I'll do that. I'm not going to make the same mistake on the actual body of the ute because that's got a lot more high risk involved and a lot more paint to sand back if you get it wrong. So I'm going to start doing that process, which will mean I'm going to drag out the getting the body in high fill. So I'm going to focus on repairing and hanging this door with these pins and these bushes, see if we can really get it dead straight with no sag whatsoever. And then I'll start to just keep going on the body work. All right, back in the booth. So I've just started to go over this high fill with a light sand. This is 400 paper. And this gives me a good indication of how you would treat, I'd imagine, clear coat, because you can see that orange peeling over the top. Now, it wouldn't be as bad, obviously, with a good gun. That gun was sort of misfiring as well, so I'd imagine that's why the orange peel's pretty bad. But with 4 coats of clear, and sanding as you do with 400, then work up your way up to your higher grades, yeah, you'll get that orange peel off, no worries. And it's obviously what people do with their clear coat at the end to get that beautiful mirror finish. So yeah, that was sanding back reasonably nicely. I only did that for literally a minute, but I don't want to do it with the rudimentary uneven surface like my hand. So I might get a decent kind of DuraBlock in there and get some fine sandpaper and start to really have a go at it. And then we'll see how this section pulls up. So this area, which I thought was a low, actually is just a shadow line on this arch from the lights above. So it's actually fine there, which is great. And there is a tiny, tiny mark here that will need a little bit of ironing out. So I'll just sand that back, but that's no biggie. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with these guards. And it'll just require some, little bit of repairing and sanding there. I think that's the only sort of low area where that body filler was, which is fine because it's my first time. So learn from your mistakes. So now I'm just going to shift these guards over to the corner. I'll get over to the other side, get this door off and start to have a look at this pin replacement so I can get this door hung and leveled out for final fitment so that I can start to really sand back and get this the door gaps and the panels aligned beautifully. right, so I've got the door off. Just thought, been playing with the idea of doing it in situ, so I don't have to take them all off again. I just don't want to put too much pressure on these bolts here on the wall and, cause any issues, but they can actually move up and down, so I don't think I would really damage anything. But you can see here, look at that play. That's like at least 1 mil play up and down. You can see those plastic bushes in there. So I think it's a good thing. It's definitely going to tighten it up. And you can see here as well. Not as much movement there, but definitely playing. You actually take the spring off. So this spring, I thought I was going to have a hard time getting that out. It's literally like finger tight. So that was very easy to get off. You can see that now, actually. That's highlighted even more. Look at that. I probably should paint all these while they're off and taken apart. Would make sense. I'll probably do that. So I've just put a bit of WD-40 on these pins here. I'm going to try and just hammer them out. Yeah, with this tool here. So we'll see how we go. I don't like the way that that's actually taking a fair bit of force, and this isn't that thin, so I'm going to take the hinges off and do it on the press. Okay, so I've got it in the vise. I'm happy with that now. It's not going to flex too much here. This is thick enough to hold it, I reckon. What I have noticed though, so this here is the roller, and that spring just sits in there, as I showed you before, pushes in. When I ordered the kit, I just imagined that everything would come with it, but this roller pin and bushing is different, and that, as you can see, is worn as well, so as is this actually doesn't, from what I can see, have any bearing on the way the door actually hangs. So all the movements at play is on this front pin and bushings, which I am replacing. This will just be guided by, once this is set, this is just really just guiding the door spring back and forth. As much as that would be good to be refreshed as well, this is not going to, I'm pretty sure this doesn't actually change the sag and play once that's replaced. So I think it'll be right. It's just annoying because I'd like to actually freshen the whole thing up. Once I remove this, I'm actually going to sandblast this, give it a paint, because I'm thinking, well, I'm never going to get the better opportunity than to do it now. So as much as I can't be, I'll do it. And yeah, I'll probably just reuse that spring. I think it's fine for now. Yeah, so that's the course of action I'm going to take. The hammer method didn't work. I reckon I was going to flex the metal too much. So I'm starting to get all these little tricks and tie them together. So what I learned with the removing the bushes on the leaf springs, I've applied to a micro scale on here. So get the old socket. It gives a bit of a cavity for that top of the pin to be pushed into, and then just get the vise to do the work. So has pushed it out. So I should be able to just tap that out now with a hammer. Give this a little punch a go to get in there and knock it out. All right, so now the pin's out. Just got to get rid of the two bushes. So it's just eaten well into that. There's the play for sure. Yeah, just 80s plastic. That one's interesting. It's like it's half brass, half plastic. The top just crunched straight off that. So either way, they were both stuffed. Okay, so I've just painted the hinges, did them all at once, and I've had the pins and the bushes in the freezer overnight. I heard that actually makes them easier to get in. We'll actually see if that's true. So yeah, I'm just going to assemble the passenger side door, because that's the one I'm having trouble with, and then go and attach it and see how it hangs. Okay, so I've got this little jig set up to get this bush in. I'm going to have to repaint these because I had run out of the paint that I wanted to use. So I stupidly used some of this stuff thinking it'll get me through. And it's actually got a fair bit of sponge to it. So yeah, it's got a bit of tackiness to it, and it's crinkled a little bit, so it looks crap. So anyway, I'm just going to get these in, and then I'll coat them again once I've put them in. Essentially, this is a bolt similar to the leaf springs. Bushing sitting there. I've got a nut on each side. That's just a spacer nut. And then I'm just going to tighten this nut up here and hold this one. And hopefully it should slide through to a point where it's hitting this nut, and then I'll release it, undo it, and then tap the rest of it in. So we'll give that a go, see how it works. Okay, so one's in, and when you're all right, pin's tight, I guess that's what you want. So not too sure if I'm supposed to grease that up or not. I may put a bit of grease in there just to make sure it doesn't squeak. So anyway, I'm going to do the next one, and then yeah, aim to get the pin in. All right, so now both those two bushes are in, and now it's time to put the pin in on top of the other hinge. So the hinge gets to about there now. It's obviously tight because it's compressed in as it's gone, as the bushing's gone in. So I'm just going to use the same method that I did to push them out and see how we go. I actually forgot to press record, but I just hammered that in with the hammer and just lined them up. That is so tight now, like it's absolutely no play. So that convinces me that it was creating the sag. If you haven't done this to your hinges, absolutely do it. So now just to get this last little section in, which has got the crimping marks on it, and that's slightly bigger, that's going to require a lot of pressure to slide into the top of this bush. So I am going to do the same method with the press and this socket, put that socket over there and just press it in the vise, and we'll see how we go. All right, so I've got it in, but basically it was a bit of a shit show. So it takes an incredible amount of force to get that top pin. As you can see, it's not even seated properly. As I was doing the vise, I was like literally bent the vise handle because I was pushing that hard, and I forgot to put a spacer in here. So what is a big no-no, you know, if you don't put a spacer to take up that force, you're going to compress the gap in here, which has happened, which I'm pissed off about. But I've managed to crimp it back or clamp it back and pull it within tolerance. So I don't think it's affected it that much. But what I also did stupidly is put the pin upside down. I did have it the right way up, and then I thought that it was had to be the other way, so I swapped it. But now it is upside down, so that's another issue. So it's going to be like this on the door, and the pin's going to be up there, so you can see it's damaged at the top. But I'm not taking it out because of the amount of effort, and that's not going anywhere, so I'm just going to leave it and learn from that first one. So type away if you think that's a shit show. But anyway, that's just realities. So anyway, that was the first one. As you can see, the paint needs another paint as well. So all in all, a bit of a mess, but I've got to put this spring in now. So this is a lot tighter now because of the there's no plane here. But you can see it's not going anywhere. It's really, really solid. So if I haven't done too much damage by bending this in, hopefully that's still going to have the same, exactly the same level. And I can adjust that anyway if it is slightly off. But the main thing is that's solid. So now I'm just going to put the pin in, and that one's done. All right, so now I'll do the bottom hinge. Same method, bushes in first, so top and bottom, and then pin. So I'm going to refine this method based on the learning experience from the other one. And the whole idea is to try and put something in here to reduce that flex when you're trying to force that pin in. And I'm hoping that, when I do that again on this one, I can put this piece of metal in here, which pretty much just fits snug enough so that will then take up any flex in this hinge metal here, so we can still retain that that spacing in the middle and no flex. All right, so I've got this second one seated nicely, so you can see the gaps are exactly where it should be. It just needs to have this little ridge popped in now. So I'm going to attempt to do the same thing with the vise. This time I'm going to put that piece of metal in here just to bridge that gap so it doesn't flex. And hopefully that should get the result. So that's in. I ended up just hammering it and got it seated nicely. So given this used to or came out with the plastic bushes, that would have been a lot easier to get in than the brass ones. So hence why it's taken a fair bit of effort. But yeah, I just hit it with the hammer, and I put that spacing nail in there in between so it didn't bend or alter the metal in there, and it's seated really nicely. So gave it a little bit of a paint, but I'm not happy with the paint. They'll do for now, but I will recoat these at a later stage. So now got the spring on. So everything's ready to go. So I'm going to put them back on the shell, and we'll see how this door hangs. All right, I just put the hinges on the actual shell. I just want to demonstrate or compare the movement of these new bushes compared to the old ones. So you can remember the old ones were just moving everywhere. But these ones, absolutely no movement whatsoever. So that's going to be really, really handy to know that if these are tight and these are tight, the door's going to stay there. Same with this one, although it's ropeable that I've put this upside down, still the same, like that just does not move whatsoever. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm just going to, try and put the door on, do the same thing, adjust these on the shell, get the height, and then tighten the ones on the door and try and get that gap perfect. All right, so that's worked. The bushes and the pins have made a huge difference in this door now. It's just not going anywhere. I did one alignment, bolted them all up, and there she stays. So if you're having issues with your door, definitely check your bushes. If they haven't been changed since the model came out in the 80s, then they're pretty much 99% worn if it's been used regularly. And that will be causing that 3 to 4 mil difference that you're struggling to fit. So it doesn't matter how tight the bolts are on the hinges, if those bushes are worn, you'll struggle to ever line it up properly and it'll always be sagging. So definitely worth replacing. I'm really happy I've done it. I still need to do the other side. It was a bit of a shit show in getting the pin in, but the result is that it worked, and that's the main thing. So verdict is, if you haven't changed the bushes on your door hinges, do it, because it's certainly helped stop that sagging door. I know there's other things that create sags. So it could be rusty pillars. It could be if the door's been pushed forward and it's bent the door. So there's a lot of other things. But if that is all being checked out, do just check your bushes. It's worth just updating them and refreshing them anyway, I reckon, based on what I've seen. So I'm gonna go over and do the other door as well off camera, sort that out. But the next thing really is to get back in the bodywork, and now that the door's right, I can do that on this side of the ute. So it was interesting, the last episode got a good response. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people want to know about how to paint a car. There's a lot of good response in the last video about the 2K primer. I would have loved to have done it this episode, but if the body isn't right, it's not right, and based on those two yarns, I really want to just get the guide coat and finesse that body filler more and more. Once the 2K primer is on, it's a lot harder then to go back and start to mess around with it all. So this needs work along the top section here. This one's all right, but I'm just going to run over the whole thing, get it 2K primed sooner than later, and then we can keep rolling forward until this thing's ready to go to base coat, and I can reveal the color. So I'll probably do a color reveal in the next couple of episodes and we'll get some feedback. It's not locked in. I'm just going to get a model, and we'll probably, do a 3D model and see how the light bounces off all these different paints. So anyway, if you haven't subscribed, please do. Thanks for following the journey. And for all those that keep giving me feedback, I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.